Well, good evening, everybody. I have 7 o'clock, and welcome to the Raymore City Council work session for Monday, August the 3rd. We have several items on the agenda tonight. Before we start the agenda, I want to say, please take your time to look around the room. We've taken extra measures for your safety. I think it would be safe to say not only are we socially distanced, but now we are separated with a plexiglass barrier. And so it's your choice if you want to wear your mask or not wear your mask. I think we're in good shape right now. Just wearing your mask when you're up and moving around would be helpful. So we'll move on to the first item, which is the Grant Park Villas MHDC application, and I will turn it over to Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, sir, and I would ask Mr. Carteret to make the staff presentation for this agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. About a year ago, September of 2019, Jeff Beckler, who was representing Zimmerman Properties, are out of Springfield, Missouri. He provided at a work session an overview of the proposed Grant Park Villas development. This would be a 48-unit, a senior housing development. He was going to locate it on 3.8 acres of land just to the north of 58 Highway, south of the Point Townhomes, just west of the Ramblewood subdivision. At the September 23rd council meeting, we then put on the agenda and council unanimously approved. It was a resolution of support for him to go before the Missouri Housing Development Commission for financing for the development. They were unsuccessful in the 2019 round of financing. It's a very competitive program, but they did not abandon the project. They have maintained contact with staff since then. They did in May of 2020 actually purchase the property, which they felt would show MHDC a greater commitment to the project. They now own the property, and they have rights to develop it. It is properly zoned. So they're ready to move forward with the project. So they came to staff earlier in July and asked if they could, again, have consideration from the council for a resolution of support for the development to submit to MHDC. This would be a $8.9 million investment in the building and the property. And again, these units, they're restricted to residents age 55 and older. Their rents would be based on the incomes they would have. They have a sliding scale, a lot of different formulas in calculating what those rents would be. I did provide just a 2-page overview from their presentation a year ago. The first page shows basically a illustration of what the building would look like. This is a facility. They built several of them, not only in Missouri, but across about 11 different states. The second page, that is their conceptual plan that shows the layout of the building on the property and provides some information. These are 1- and 2-bedroom units. Again, and then they have a 2-story building, and they have community centers on each floor and certain other amenities available to the residents. So what we would look for, what we're seeking tonight, is consensus from the council on placing a resolution of support on your August 10th agenda. They would then, they're seeking support from other groups throughout the community. Certainly is a great demand for affordable senior apartments within the community. So they intend to move forward, we believe, during the month of September for their financing request to MHDC. That would conclude staff report this evening.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have any questions of Jim? Mr. Holman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carteret, I don't remember, and I don't know what the state puts on them as far as requirements if they're considered for this financing, but would they be asking anything additional of us if they were successful in getting financing from the state? Would they be asking for like Chapter 100 bonds, or is that permitted or prohibited via that application?
They would not be asking for any other assistance from the city. There would be no Chapter 100 and no other request for any city backing of the project. They would pay all the fees, building permit fees, connection fees, everything that a market rate apartment would pay, and they're fully prepared to move forward with that development.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
If I remember you heard correctly, and I remember they own the property?
They do. They now own the property, yes.
Now own the property. Okay, because that would answer one of my questions then for how many bites at the apple would they get to apply for this particular through the state until they have to move on to some other options? It's one of several different programs available. It is the one best suited for this type of development. It is an annual application process that's usually done in September of each year with a decision in December. They're committed to the project, so if they're trying to make their application stronger this year than what they felt it was last year, purchasing the property was one of the things they have done. They're confident that they will get financing, but if they don't, I believe they would try again in 2021.
And it is unlimited bites at the apple, sir.
Okay.
Until the state finally wears you down with negativity.
I figured as much, and because they own the property then, it's not necessarily that they're holding up any potential other development options. They own the property, so they have the leeway to do whatever they would like. So
That's correct.
thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Barber.
Thank you, and just to refresh my memory, Mr. Carteret, they have experience in this before. This is not their first time going through this process. Is that correct?
That is correct. They have two developments in the city of Belton, one of them right behind the furniture store. I believe it's called Briar Creek Villas, very similar building. But yeah, they have, I believe, 11,000 units over 11 different states. So
Is that a 55-plus area as well?
it is. They have two developments. 55-plus community is their Briar Creek Villas. They also own a family-oriented development across the street. I think it's called Lakewood Terrace.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Anyone else? Yes, Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question, once they develop this, like the ones in Belton, which I know very well, my sister lived in there for a number of years, they won't, down the year, since they own it, they won't kind of contract backwards. Once it's 55, it's 55, or can they, since they own it down the road 5 years, develop it to become family-oriented like the one they did across the street out there in Belton?
They would be restricted to the 55-plus during the initial terms of the agreement. So you were probably looking at a 30-year time period before that would be able to be switched off of the 55-plus. Okay. It is a commitment that if they get financing through the Missouri Housing Development Commission that they must agree to.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and if there's a consensus here, go ahead and have Mr. Fearborn prepare that resolution again. I'm seeing
We will, sir.
some nods here, so we'll move forward with that. Next item on the agenda, if there's no further questions on that, is the board and commission appointments. I'll ask you to pass those down and around, if you would, please. There's only a couple of them. One is a park board, fill the unexpired term of Eric Eastwood. The candidate there has been on the park board in the past and has served very well with the park board. He's had his application in for a while, which is attached to the packet here provided. He's had it in for several months, and he's interested in serving again. And then I wanted to explain the second item on there. Recently, as we were trying to woo a organization to our industrial site, we were also in talks with the Kansas City Area Transit Authority with regard to the potential for alternative ways of transportation out to our area in order to help us kind of build up our workforce capabilities for that general vicinity. During that period of time, we noticed that there was a Cass County citizen vacancy and has been vacant on the KCATA Commission for some time. And so, Mr. Fearborn, you want to talk about the process?
Thank you, sir. You will note from the page behind there where it kind of outlines what this particular commission's duties are. You can see that there are currently one vacancy on the Kansas side in Wyandotte County and 2 vacancies on the Missouri side. As the mayor has indicated, the Cass County, each of those vacancies has its own peculiarities associated with how the person is appointed. The Platte Clay person, it's a completely different process than it is here in Cass County. 3 of the commissioners are appointed by, on the Missouri side, are appointed by the Kansas City mayor. Those are the 3 that are currently filled. I suspect that one of the difficulties with our northern county getting it filled is it's a fairly complex and convoluted process. This one is actually very simple compared to that. County Commission has to recommend it on to the governor. The governor then recommends it on to the Senate for approval. The group normally meets once a month, and you can see from the first paragraph the items that they actually oversee. They have 7 different commissions like Ride KC, KC Light Rail, that report to them. They are a voting body. But Cass County has certainly, for a long time, and by long time I mean years, not months, not had the position filled. A little bit surprised that nobody from the commission has brought that up, but there does tend to be kind of a KC core, Kansas City, Kansas core to this commission that we would like to see the outer counties get good representation from. Councilmember Townsend, of course, has had a number of opportunities to participate in transportation issues associated with Cass County and with Raymore, and so I recommended him on to the mayor and contacted the presiding commissioner for Cass County to see if they received a resolution, if they would look favorably upon forwarding that to the governor. He was overwhelmed that we would go ahead and bring somebody forward, and they would in fact, he was actually talking with Commissioner Odom in the room, and you could just, they're very enthusiastic about receiving this. So staff would highly recommend this to the council, and I know the mayor and I conferred, and the mayor is very, very hopeful that this would give us a voice on KCATA that has long been absent.
Anybody have any questions about that or that process? Mr. Holman.
Just a comment. I served with Simon for a number of years on Parks Board. It's an excellent decision to appoint him, sir. The second guy is a little sketchy. I'm not sure if we want to go that route, but if it's your decision, sir, if it's your wheelhouse, you make that decision, I'll support it.
Thank you. If there is none, then we do have, did you want to talk about the email that was sent out late today? Because there are some nuances to that email that we have to realize. Let me just kind of start off. So there's a lot of projects going on the Kansas side. We were competing for one of those. However, we haven't lost out totally. And so there's still a need for some confidentiality with regard to that particular organization. You all know who it is. But as far as us making that a public knowledge, we would like to just say that we have competed with Kansas. Kansas got a phase of this project chosen, the phase 1 part of it. There's still a potential for us to compete at phases 2 and 3, and so we still have to be very careful about how we talk about this particular organization with regard to the competition that could potentially be out there. And did I miss anything, Mr. Fearborn?
No, sir.
Did you have anything to add?
Yes.
Okay.
We stood alone in the entire state of Missouri on the first major development of this sort. The development down there continues. The street is still being built. Van Trust is building their first very, very large spec building that we had discussed with the council in the development agreement. That development agreement stays in place. It will now not melt away. We have no reason to even get close to blinking or hanging our head. Again, first time through, and we proved who we were. We proved our mettle on this one. There are things we learned from it. There are going to be, once it's official, because it's not official yet, as the mayor has indicated, that there was a very specific line of communication that was going to be taken with the city on this that has not occurred yet. And this is a person who I think the entire economic development team would say is a man of his word. And so until we hear from him, we have only heard from second and third party sources that this is a thing. I would say that the things that we have learned from this are we are strong and we have to make our supporting characters as strong as we are. We were told by this group that it was Raymore versus the state of Kansas. And that came through loud and clear in the things that we heard at the end as far as the final negotiations were concerned. It's difficult to compete against a governor's office. And I'll leave that lay on the table. And that concludes the staff report on this item, sir.
So if you delicately have any questions.
I'd like to add to, so is this kind of like when Mahomes went up against Brady last year, and then he went back again this year? Okay.
We are redoubling our efforts. We talked to you about Project Yellow. That continues to move forward, certainly not as big as what we are looking at, but we submit tomorrow a very good package, very solid package on that. We have a very good partner in Van Trust. They've hit the ball out of the park with what they've been willing to do down there without having anybody in there. I mean, they are doing things that they don't need to be doing. I have every confidence that this is news we would have preferred to go the other way, but it's certainly not the end of this.
Right. Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.